Hi everyone, welcome back to River and Rune. Thank you guys for joining me on the channel this week. I'm very excited to get into the message that is for this week ahead, the Runecast. So funnily enough, I actually tried to do the video earlier today and then the camera died. So I said to myself, you know what? I'm gonna keep the runes out because it was a really important message. And thankfully over the course of me fiddling with the camera and trying to get the battery pack to working, I really was able to solidify the message. So I'm able to give it to you in I suppose, a more succinct way. But before I get into the message, I did want to say that this week is actually extremely powerful for many of us, especially for those of us in my generation, so those born in the 1992 range, just because we have Saturn in Aquarius, so that means it's our Saturn returns for those of us in my generation. And a lot of that has to do with this very deep restructuring of our foundations. And this week has a lot of Capricorn and Aquarius energy happening with Venus in Capricorn. I believe Mercury is also in Aquarius, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then you have like all the other planets are like hanging out in these two signs, or many of them at least. So I've noticed that there's been a lot of this Saturnal energy. Now Saturn in the old Greek tradition was actually Kronos, or the Titan Kronos, or the Titan of time. And he's the one, for many of you, or for many of you who do know the story, in the Greek tradition, Kronos was the one who kind of like ate his kids. Because there was a prophecy that one of his kids will overthrow him. But long story short, the energy behind that myth carries a lot about our connection to control, our connection to the passage of time, of temporality, and a lot of how we're able to restructure ourselves and allow ourselves not to only become people who control time, but people who become active participants in time and allow time to pass accordingly. So it has a lot to do about the lessons of control and releasing that control, of when to hold on and when to let go, which I think is quite beautiful, honestly. And it has a lot to do with the reading that happened earlier today. So I'll get into it quickly. We have here Tiruas, which is in Merkstav. Now for those of you who do frequent the channel, Tyr has showed up a couple times, this rune, and when it's upright it usually represents success, especially in a legal sense. But most often I associate it with victory, with success, with overcoming obstacles. When it's in the Merkstav position, it represents a loss of something, whether it's a loss of one's footing, loss of a battle, loss of a connection to something or someone, right? And then we have Thurisaz, which is also in Merkstav. And Thurisaz is very much a rune of the masculine principle or masculine energy. Now, of course, I do, for my personal belief, I see masculinity and femininity is within all of us, and we exhibit these energies according to our expression. And so it's not connected to gender, it's not connected to all these different things. I think it's just a quality of how we express ourselves, at least in my opinion. Now, Thurisaz is connected to the masculine principle, that masculine energy that is very action-oriented, moving forward. It's very, it's about action, very much so. And when I see these two runes together, what I'm finding, or what came up earlier today, is that many of us are going to be coming up against the things that we have lost, the battles that we may not have been able to succeed over, and how this brings about a lot of unbalance when it comes to the expression of our masculine energy or the expression of our masculine principle, which oftentimes becomes frustration, aggression, especially towards ourselves. A lot of the discomfort that comes with asking ourselves, well, how, why didn't it work out? Like, did I do something wrong? And I'm doing something wrong. Is it me? All kinds of thoughts that come into our head. So I feel that today, going into the weekend, because I do see this lasting until Sunday, many of us are going to be in this very uncomfortable Saturnal energy, this Kronos energy. And it has a lot to do with us coming to terms to understand and coming into more closer contact with all of these various temporalities, the timelines, the could'ves, the should'ves, and the would'ves, which all of a sudden do tend to disappear when we ground ourselves in the present moment. But just because grounding ourselves in the present moment doesn't mean that what we had experienced in the past, all of these thoughts that we have in our hearts and in our minds, do not affect us and do not carry specific gravity to them. Now, when it comes to these two runes into the week ahead, I do see this going into Sunday, but with this discomfort that I was mentioning, I wanted to dive a little bit more deeper into it, because this discomfort has a lot to do with how we interact with the unbalanced masculine within us. And what I mean by that is that oftentimes we don't get a chance to overcome all those boundaries or overcome all of those obstacles that may be in front of us. And sometimes we get frustrated and angry at ourselves for not being good enough, or not being strong enough, or fast enough, or not being action oriented enough to get things done. And this discomfort is actually going to be extremely fruitful for many of us, because as we sit with these emotions, as we acknowledge our shortcomings, the things that had happened, the ways in which we ask ourselves or push ourselves to the brink, it brings us into greater clarity and awareness of how we do that to ourselves. And so I do encourage many of us to take the time, and with the specific carefulness, the care that you deserve, to sit down with yourself, acknowledge the things that you wish you could have done but perhaps didn't get a chance to do in this past week, and not succumb to the overwhelming emotions, or the imbalance, I should say, because we want to feel our emotions. We want to feel these things, but not to allow ourselves to become overwrought with this. I live next to the highway. It's very close by, so sometimes I get some music that comes through, so sorry about that. But yes, when it comes to 30 Sas in Merkstav, there's a lot to say about this desire that we have to keep doing things, right? To push ourselves and to keep creating. And whenever we have these losses, or unable to claim these victories, especially with the society that we've been raised in, many of us, and especially in America, I would say a very capitalistic mindset, there's a lot of this pressure to succeed, this pressure to perform, this pressure to get everything done as fast as you can, as well as you can, and then keep it moving to the next project. And this weekend is going to be sitting in the discomfort of looking back, looking within, and saying, okay, I didn't get a chance to get all those things done, and that's okay. It is all right. I deserve rest. I deserve time for myself. Not everything can be done right away. You can't yell at a tree to grow, you know? And allowing ourselves to really take the time to grow, to take the time to acknowledge all of these emotions, and to tap into that Saturnal energy, and to say that it's less about the control and more about becoming an active participant in time. Not trying to control time, wishing that we had more time, trying to create more time, but getting to that point where we can become a participant in time. See ourselves as points of lights in motion. And this is going to bring us to a very beautiful revelation, I think, for many of us, especially coming into Tuesday. I feel Tuesday is an important day for many of us in the River and Rune family. At least this is what I'm feeling. But when it comes to Tuesday, I'd say, we have Kanos, which came up upright. And Kanos is the torch. It is action-oriented. It is this energy of lighting that fire, walking into the dark night and saying, I am here and I'm ready to go. Like, where's the next journey, right? But this comes after the chrysalis, wrapping ourselves up and allowing ourselves to take the time to properly grieve the things that we could not accomplish this year, or perhaps even this week. And for many of us, perhaps even grieving things that we had to leave behind this week. I do see leaving behind uncomfortable circumstances, perhaps uncomfortable friendships, or perhaps I know in my case, a lot of it had to do with leaving behind or letting go. I suppose the memory of an old friend who passed away this year. And really allowing that time to say, it's okay, keep going. Like, I'm gonna keep going on this life, and may you enjoy the journey on your next one, right? And for those of us who are going through romantic situations, I do feel like this is a lot about coming to terms with the heartbreaks, coming to terms with perhaps the confusion and the inability to make a decision, whether it is to, dive into something or to dive away from something, whatever that may be. But that's a specific message for a few of you. As you know, this is a general reading. But as this energy moves into the next week, it feels as if we're all going to get to that point where, in the chrysalis of this gentleness, of allowing ourselves to release our hold on the couldas, the shouldas, and the wouldas of this week, we're going to allow ourselves to blossom, to metamorphosize, I think the word is, and to spread our wings and fly, right? And this flight is bringing that masculine energy back into balance and aligning this action with our intention, lighting the fire of our soul so that we can walk and take conscious effort to do the things that make us happy again. So it's a really beautiful reading, and there's a lot of a beautiful outlook that I see in the coming week ahead. Now, I know many of you had wanted the 2021 predictions, and I'm excited to get to them. So I'll be working on them tonight into tomorrow, and I'm very excited, and probably will have them released by the weekend. So just to let you know how things are going on that. And that is the message for this week. I hope you guys enjoy yourselves wherever you are, whatever time that you watch this. I'm very grateful that you joined me and my practice today. So I look forward to seeing you next time here on River and Rune. Of course, like and subscribe to the channel if you like these readings, which I hope you do. So many blessings. Love you guys. I'll see you all later. Bye, everyone.